Slim Mick is just sneaking out of the
He's
back.
hovering behind us here.
Out of here.
Hey, we're live. Yes.
What's up, dude?
What's up, man?
So the tourney's going on right now.
Yeah, sure is.
But we're gonna take a quick break from throwing jabs at each other. I'm gonna take a quick break from dealing with Twitter support because a bunch of you guys want to use fucking bots. So now I have to deal with their asses to kind of keep the tournament going.
You know, in some respects, Treasy, I am flattered that people would want to use bots.
I get it, yeah.
But it's also a big pain in our asses. So, particularly Treasy's. I'm doing nothing except complaining to Treasy there's bots. So, next year or even next round, please don't use bots. Please just leave it on the up and up. You know, do whatever you can to promote yourself the natural way, all right?
Yeah, Wally.
So, that aside, what we wanted to talk about today was, and it's thanks to MLB Trade Rumors for just releasing this because they do a good job of gathering this up. They got the out-of-options players in the MLB, which means they have no more minor league options. So, like, they cannot be sent down to the minors. If a team wants to send them down to the minors, they have to clear waivers to do so, which means you can pick that player up if you were to want to take over that guy's contract. So we're going to go through a few of the guys. There's a whole list. You can go find it on MLB Trade Rumors. There's a whole list of people, but we're going to go through a few that we think if they get to that point, if they go on waivers or if they're outright cut or if they take, instead of taking an assignment, they decide to become free agents. These are some guys that the Sox should look at least give a sniff, if you were to say. So I'll let Beeflo start off because I know he's got one in the Mets outfield that he wants to talk about.
Absolutely. So the Mets did their makeover this year, and part of it was they made a small trade to acquire this guy, and now they've sort of run out of space to hold on to this guy, or at least it looks like it. So I think it's likely that this player is going to get let go. They're going to try to get him to clear waivers. I don't think he clears waivers, although I don't know if the White Sox would be interested in claiming him. And his name's Keon Broxton. Now, for me, when I started looking at the list of players, to me, there was a few positions that the players need to be able to handle, and center field is one of them. If the Sox are going to make a claim, especially with the problems in the corners because of the Yonder Alonso situation where he's clogging up DH, and you've got to sort of keep the corners open for Eloy and Daniel Palka to get their at-bats. You need a guy who can handle center field. Because I'm not that worried about center fielders. Adam Engel has options. He can go back down to the minors. The remainder of the guys that can play center field, Lurie Garcia, can easily be cut. There's no problem. Keon Broxton has had huge upside and pedigree for a long time. Here's the problems. He strikes out way too fucking much. And for as fast as he is, he's a good outfielder, but not a great defensive outfielder. He's also 28 years old. So even though he has team control, it's been a while, and he hasn't really come through hitting. It's the type of guy you take a shot at and see what happens if he comes free. I mean, if the Sox were able to get a hold of him, I would say you put him out there and let him play center and also occasionally the corners, and you forego playing John Jay very much. I would just give him the opportunity to play and see what you can get.
Yeah, and there's two other outfielders in a similar position where you're like, this guy could possibly play center field. If he were on the Sox, you'd force him into that role.
That's right.
And see if he could actually play it. And those two other guys are Aaron Alter from the Phillies, who, I mean, they've added a lot of outfielders, so someone's got to go. He's the out-of-options guy, so it seems like it's going to be him. And then in Arizona, a guy who just never became what he was supposed to be, which is Socrates Brito. And we'll see.
I call him Socrates.
Socrates. So he's just never lived up to what he was supposed to be.
No.
I don't remember which trade he came over. Was it Shelby Miller trade?
It might have been. I forget too. At the time, though, he was like a real piece.
Yeah.
And then it's never sort of happened. You know, that's a theme, a running theme in this list, by the way.
But so he's not great, but he could be, right? And he's just never really got a good shot. So these are the kinds of guys that these aren't great players, but you can take a chance on one of these like kind of lottery ticket type guys and see if they actually turn into it. You could see an example of something like this with a guy like Aaron Hicks in New York, right? Like the Twins gave up on him finally, and then it was injuries and other things that were keeping him back, and now he's been a really good player for the Yankees. That's the kind of guy you get. You're not going to get some star, but you're going to get a guy who's a usable piece, or some guy that you just end up dumping. It's going to be one or the other. And when you're a 100-loss team, these are the chances you have to take.
Right, the White Sox have not taken enough of these chances. Or even when they have taken these chances, like, say, Alan Hansen, when they made a small trade for him, they didn't even really hang on to him long enough.
Right.
And he went into San Francisco, and he was better than he was here. So, like, these are the risks you'd like to see Hahn and company taking. Now, the next two we'll couple together are catchers. And the reason why catcher is also important is because the current catcher situation, Wellington Castillo is going to roll off. You've seen so much about how James McCann really can't do much of anything particularly well other than throw. James McCann also has options, so it's easy to go grab one of these guys and slide James McCann down to AAA. The other contention is you have two prospects. One of them most people don't think is a catcher at all, and Zach Collins.
Right.
So that would free him up from being able to catch if you were able to get one of these guys and they were able to stick. And mostly everyone thinks Seby Zavala is the backup. So the two guys in question are, from the Boston Red Sox, Blake Swihart, and from the Colorado Rockies, Tom Murphy.
Yeah. And I think in the Swihart one, I would guess the Red Sox are going to try to find a way to keep him, right? They're going to do their best to. So you might have to make a trade, like trade some guy that you have that's out of options. So like let's say Alori Garcia, where they could play him at a bunch of different positions, so he makes a little more sense on their roster instead of having Swihart, and then you get Swihart in return. That's the kind of move you can make to just say like, look, either we both cut these guys or we swap them and we can both use them.
Yep.
Which just makes sense. So that's what I think in that case what you'd have to do. The Rockies, they may just try and outright Tom Murphy.
And just see if they can think him through.
Yeah, and I don't know that they can. I don't think the Sox should let that happen. He's a guy who he's raked in the minors. Now, albeit he was in the Pacific Coast League.
Right, I was going to say the PCL, but still.
That's not a great indicator. But, he's still hitting 15, 20 home runs in the minors, right? So that's a guy, why not take a look at him? Why not give him some opportunities to catch instead of a James McCann? I don't see why you wouldn't do something like that.
Oh, there's no question. Just to circle back to the Red Sox, they've sort of stiffened up their roster and made it difficult to keep Swihart because when they signed Steve Pearce, they've also still got Mitch Moreland. So you have sort of first base, weak corner outfield only with those guys. Rafael Devers is barely a third baseman, probably is eventually a first baseman, and you have JD Martinez. So you need to have a couple flexible pieces on there, and you're not going to really stick Swihart in at shortstop when you need a day off or second base. You just can't do that. So, and the Red Sox have been content in the past couple of years to go strictly with the strong defensive catchers, with Sandy Leon and Christian Vasquez. I think they're going to just stick with that, and I think you're right. I think they're going to try to find a deal for Swihart.
And I think the Sox are a good trade partner for that. I think that, like I said, Lurie is a good guy to move in this scenario because he could play all these different positions. So, and just to your point, you need a guy who's going to back up at short, back up at second, but also play the outfield. Lurie can't catch, but they got that covered. There was two other guys that I thought of that were interesting to me. This current Sox roster doesn't fit them very well. So I could see the first one going in maybe a trade where a first baseman gets traded to the Astros and we get Tyler White back. Mm-hmm. If it's Abreu, I would hope for more than just Tyler White. Mm-hmm. But Tyler White is a guy who he's shown some glimpses. He might be a power hitting first baseman. He might be terrible.
That's his whole list.
It's the kind
might be a something, probably a nothing. That's terrible.
Right. And speaking of which, there's another guy, Dan Vogelbach.
Oh, what do we think, baby? What do we think?
And probably one of the worst fielders you could come upon. He's a way below average first baseman. So he's not going anywhere else. He's first baseman or DH.
Yes.
So I think in that case, if he gets outrighted and he goes, I'm going to go free agent, then you look at him. Otherwise, I don't see you really going after him. I don't know. What do you think about the Tyler White one?
I think the Astros are higher on him than you think, and I think he ends up in that lineup. Because I think what they have tried to do materially is they've tried to be slightly more payroll-friendly Rays. They've been really conservative about promoting people, and even I have a feeling they're even going to fuck Kyle Tucker this year.
Really?
And push him out until June so they could save a year.
Wow. Because
they brought him up for a little bit last year, sorry. It didn't hit that much. I think they're going to try to block him. I think they'll try the same move with Forrest Whitley. And so Tyler White's
So
not the cheap.
he makes
I think he makes the
roster.
team. He'll
Okay.
make the team, and they're going to expect him to hit. I think they're trying to do that as long as they can keep the stars under control without paying extra. And so they've been really good at sort of developing some of those low-end guys. So I think he ends up staying there. Vogelbach is so fat, but he can hit a little bit.
I know you kind of want to root for a fat guy. You
I
know,
do,
you
yeah.
kind of want him in the organization somewhere and just being fat and hitting. Like it's just, man, I could just like sit out and eat a Polish and watch him try and jack homers into the 108.
I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him get released and then get claimed by the Twins. So him and Williams Estudillo could be together. The two fat guys, it would be perfect.
And let me just say, if he gets claimed by nobody, the 108 will try and pick him up.
Well,
He's our kind of guy.
we'll give him the Dan Hayes offer.
Yes, exactly. And then when we were just talking about Tyler White, you mentioned like he's probably going to make the roster.
Yeah.
This is also why we didn't mention any Marlins during this, because there's like 40 guys that are out of options. They're all going to make that roster. That is just an atrocious team. So there's no one that's going to get left off of that. But I think that's about it from my side. Did you have any other guys that you wanted to talk about?
I did not. That is it.
All right. Well, we're going to get back to doing some 108ing, and we got a fantasy baseball draft, and we got a lot of shit to talk about each other. And then I got to see what Twitter wants to do with us. So we'll talk to you guys later.
Peace.